I'm going to start a new series where I just start talking about my horror stories. One of them that's on my heart right now is how I threw $4,000 in the trash can. Yep, I literally just got. Yeah. This is coming from a 19-year-old who wanted to, look into financial freedom, investing, all of that stuff without doing the research. Don't be like me. So story time, right? When I was 17 turning 18, a family member came to me and was like, yeah, you should be, what are you going to do to get financial freedom? And I was like, real life conversation. At that time, I was working Whataburger. During my summers, I was pulling 40-hour, 30-hour weeks at a $12 rate. So imagine all that work just for like the $300, $400 paycheck. Anyways, I was working at Whataburger and a family member came up to me and said, what are you going to do to earn financial freedom? And they brought IUL to the table. And for people who don't know what IUL is, it's an index universal life policy. Basically like if I don't know if you watch those type of movies where they be like, oh, my dad had left me $800 of life insurance. Yeah, it's basically one of those, except this one's different. Whenever you put money in, your premium is invested into stocks, so you can make a return. But the only thing with this one is that you can't make a less than zero. So I was like, duh, why would I not want it? You can't technically make a loss. And then they advertise it as this thing where you can, use as a tax-free loan. And I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking like, oh, I want to be ahead. I want to, I want to be able to buy a house without taking loans from the bank, because the interest rates are crazy. I didn't do enough research, but I know that interest rates with banks are crazy. Have you ever heard of a mortgage plan? You spend 30 years of your life trying to pay off a house you don't even like that much? So I'm just thinking with the financial freedom mind, I was like, yeah, that'd be something I wanted to do. So this family member introduced me to a friend of theirs who was the agent for the IUL policy. This agent, mind you, I'm African. She's African as well. So we're speaking the same language. I'm thinking there's no way in hell she can scam me. If you know Nigerians, you know what 419 is. 419 is the biggest scam industry next to the Indians. And I'm not gonna lie, I was excited. I was like, how soon can I start? All I heard was tax-free loans. You can't make a loss. If anybody tells you that with investing, you should be scared. You should be worried, because with investing, the biggest thing about investing is that you're taking a risk. You will, the stock market is stable, but when you're taking a risk, there's a possibility you can lose. And so without doing much research, I did do research. Mind you, research to me is scrolling on TikTok, looking for other people's reviews, watching YouTube videos, doing a little bit of Google research, but I didn't do much. I remember before starting the policy, I watched a YouTube video trying to look up the difference between IUL and other investment, Like, at that point, I knew what a Roth IRA was, but I didn't really know. This is why they need to teach the stuff in schools. Anyways, I ended up doing some research, and either way, I still had some questions about it, but all she told me was, like, we'll put you on a $1 million policy so that you can retire early and be a millionaire. And if you don't get, if anything happens to you later in your future, you're covered. Blah, 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 blase, 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 scam, la-di-la-di. It's the IUL itself is not a policy, but she herself, scammer. Anyways, so she got me. I ended up paying $300 for 14 months until one day my frontal lobe developed just a little bit more. Mind you, at this point, I'm 19. I've been paying it for like 18 to 19, because you legally can't start till you're 18. So she literally preyed on me, waited till I was 18 to finally start me with the policy. Anyways, started me on this big $1 million benefit, and more I started paying for it, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like paying for this thing. And then it finally hit me, and I was like, let me ask more questions. So like every 6 or 4 months, I would call her, try to ask her more questions so I could understand, because I felt like I was just paying for something I didn't understand. Money was just going, and I didn't understand where it was going. Mind you, it took me 4 months before, no, it took me over 6 months before I was able to get access to my account, before I even realized how much I had been paying. I'd been paying without no access to my account. I had paid for so long, and that wasn't her fault. That was me just not being responsible. I had paid for so long without even realizing how much I had paid at that point. And yeah, so I logged into my account, and I finally saw how much I'd put into it. At this point, we're reaching $3,000, almost $4,000. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money, And I start looking at the tables that they used to like show you how much you make over the years. I started looking more at the tables, and I'm like, wait a minute. This surrender value won't match up to the amount of premium I paid till like I'm almost dead, basically, if I even survive that long, And it kind of hit me. This thing, they sell it as something you can use while you're alive. No, you can only use it when you're kind of dead. And at that point, who gives a shit about what money you have? And so at this point, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm kind of just starting to understand a little bit. And when I would ask her, more and more, and all she would tell me was, work harder so you can put more money in, so you can get a quicker cash surrender, so you can speed up the process of getting that cash surrender. And I'm like, if I'm putting more money just to get less of what I have, like, how does that make sense? And she's like, yeah, just work harder. Mind you, at this point, I'm already paying $300 a month. So she's telling me to work harder so I can start putting $400, $500 a month. Mind you, I'm not paying bills. I'm just thinking to myself, like, when I start paying bills, you mean to tell me I'm going to be paying extra rent on a policy that I probably won't even get to use till I'm dead? And eventually I did more research, and I kind of just learned that the reason they tell you to go for those higher policies of $500,000, $600,000, $800,000, $1 million fucking dollars, the reason they tell you that is because they make commission off of it. She was making money off my ass. She was telling me to work harder so she can make more money off of me. I got got by a Nigerian, and that's the number one rule. Don't get got by a Nigerian. It's like falling for a Nigerian prince scam, and it's so embarrassing. And I'm making this video. It took me so long to admit that I got scammed. Yeah, because how can a person that I trust relate me to someone who was going to scam me? It hit me hard. And I just, like, honestly, I'm a penny pincher, but this was kind of one of those situations where I just, like, leave it to the hands of God. Because, mind you, when I stopped paying the policy, she reported me to my parents. She called up my parents and said I stopped paying. That's how I knew she was a scammer. Because, girl, what? And I said, at that point, I just realized, like, this is one of those things you just got to leave to God. And, the scammer, the thief, whatever, they will get punished for their actions. And, oh, my God. If you want more story time on how I got God, let me know. But this story is kind of just to raise awareness to other young folks that are trying to get the financial freedom without doing the research. Do your research. Don't ever take anybody's word for it. Listen to 1,000 people, and if you feel like you're not sure about it, don't go into it. Because once you put money into that thing, as most times those are long-term accounts that you can't take your money back out of. Be smart and don't be lazy.